Hello everyone, we're going to do a Bible review and we're going to be talking about the NIV Cultural Backgrounds Study Bible. I bought this from Amazon and I believe the NIV is the only translation you can get this in on Amazon. I did see one in the New American Standard Bible on eBay, but it was insanely expensive. I didn't even bother trying to get that one. But let's have a look here. Let's open up this box. And this is what you get. It is a very nice leather, soft. So it is an imitation leather, not actual leather. This is kind of a brown color, and you can see, I don't know how well it comes in the video, but this side is a little bit darker than this side. So it's a very thick study Bible, kind of bulky, but study Bibles aren't necessarily meant for carrying to church and carrying around with you. They're meant more for home and referencing. And so this is a bit of a big boy, but they do give you two ribbon markers. One is kind of this gold yellow color, mustard color, very nice, and this brown. They are very thin ribbon markers, but they're not bad at all. It gives you an idea of what the spine looks like. It is not gold stamped or anything. It is engraved right into the material. So gives it a nice little effect. So let's open this up and let's have a look. I already filled this out. It's funny, when I do a presentation page for a Bible that I buy myself, what do you put in the buy the buy section? I just leave it blank. But anyway, so this is the Holy Bible. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. Psalm 109. So we're going to open this up and have a look here. You get a quick start guide to the NIV Cultural Background Study Bible. So this kind of gives you a little bit about what the features are. Just a simple little introduction here. You get a table of contents. Now, you will know that the pages have like a very subtle kind of a cream color tint to them. I think that's meant to kind of make this Bible look old, because it is mainly a historical Bible, looking at the historical context of the Bible when it was written. So about the authors, there were a number of people that contributed to this Bible, but these are the two fellas that were the editors. This is the preface to the New International Version. I'm not a huge NIV guy. I don't have anything against it. I think there's better translations out there. I much prefer the ESV, but that's a topic for another day. It does give you this Hebrew to English translation chart, and this is something that you don't see very often. So it gives you a Hebrew phrase, a Hebrew word, how it's pronounced, what it looks like in Hebrew, what the NIV word equivalent would be, and where these verses are. It gives you a little bit of a definition. So this is actually quite handy. Very nice. And this goes on for a few pages. Hebrew to English translation chart. And then you get into ancient texts related to the Old Testament. So these are ancient non-biblical texts that relate to what goes on in the Bible. So this is actually a very interesting thing to have. And then it gives you an Old Testament chronology. It doesn't give you dates for these things. Like some Bibles will say creation 4000 BC or 4004 BC. This Bible does not do that, but that's okay, because we don't really know for sure. It gives you a nice timeline of the Old Testament chronology, just to kind of make it visual. And then you get into this nice title page for the Old Testament. Now, it breaks it up into blocks. You've got the Torah, you've got the narrative literature, the wisdom and hymnic literature, and the oracles of the prophets. So kind of breaks it up into sections. And major backgrounds and issues from the ancient Near East. So this Bible, as I've mentioned, is primarily for the study of the culture of the time the Bible was written. So that's kind of, this Bible is meant for the historical lovers out there, people who love history, what was common in Israel at the time, what the Jewish customs and things were. So it gives you an introduction to the Torah, and then each book has a very concise, brief little introduction, key concepts, literary setting, that type of thing. And then you get into the Bible itself. Now, this is the way a typical page is laid out. You've got the notes in the bottom, as most study Bibles do. It is two-columned, center column reference, and I do like how they've done this. The center column is kind of a little darker, tan beigeish color. It's very nice. It's a very appealing-looking Bible, and it's got tons and tons of these little articles put into the Bible. So as you're reading it, it gives you information. These are very good. The notes at the bottom are very, very detailed, and there are copious amounts of notes. I just kind of been looking through this Bible. I got it a few days ago, and I've been looking through it, and I don't think I've even found a page that doesn't have at least some type of commentary on it. So you're getting a lot of information. There are maps kind of scattered throughout as well. The maps are full color, and you will see once we come across one, I'll show you. They've got nice pictures and visual things. Like, for example, here it tells you what it is, when it was, and where it came from. So just all kinds of really interesting cultural, historical information related to the time of the Bible and when it was written. There's another map. There's some pictures. And I will say this Bible is very good, and I just got this Bible less than a week ago, and look at how flat this thing lays. Like, it's very good. Like, I think you can probably, look at that, it lays flat right in Genesis. It lays flat right in the opening. So yeah, you can really open this up put it on a desk if you're doing your study. It's got these articles, images, very, very, very well done. This is interesting here. Cedar of Lebanon, and it gives you a picture of what that looks like. So, you know what, you can visualize these things. You know, when you're reading a passage, and sometimes it's hard to visualize what it's actually talking about. Well, this Bible helps you create a picture that is quite accurate. So it is a red letter edition. I'm not sure if they all are, but this particular one is. Now, let's look and see what is in between the Testaments. Usually in study Bibles, in between Malachi and Matthew, there might be a couple pages of information relating to that period. Let's just have a look and see what this has. So there's Malachi. So we're just at the very end of the Old Testament now. And the time between the Testaments. So there were about 400 years where there were things going on, but it's not actually recorded in the Bible. So this gives you some insight into what exactly was happening, and it gives you timelines as well from Malachi to Christ and all the things that that took place, when about they happened, what they were. And then it gives you this, key New Testament terms. So this is kind of a bit of a glossary that you'll find of words that are in the New Testament. For example, the age to come. The most basic scheme of ancient Judean belief about the future was that at some point the current age of hardship would end and God would establish a new era of peace, justice, and righteousness. So yeah, Jesus spoke of this age and the age to come. So this goes on for a few pages, and then of course you've got timeline of New Testament chronology as well, and then you're into the New Testament, and it breaks it up into the Gospels and Acts and the letters and Revelation. Now, one thing I didn't mention before, but you see these colors here. Well, when you're in the Bible, you'll notice the chapter headings and the chapter numbers are in the same color as is put in its section. So, for example, we're seeing purple, and you see when you do find an article, there's a lot of purple. There's a purple border on that. And then when you get to the letters, Paul's epistles and Revelation, it's now orange. So there's lots of these little. It's not a map. It's more of a picture or a painting or an artist's rendition of what it is. So that is basically this Bible. We're just going to go to the very end here, to the back, and see what it's got in the back. Now, one thing I will say is this Bible, when you're looking through the notes, it seems to come from a bit of a preterist view, but I think that it's pretty well inevitable to come across that way when you're actually studying the historical context of what Revelation is saying. Like, for example, Revelation 13, it seems to indicate the belief that that's actually referring to Nero, that Antichrist, and about how the name Nero translates to 666. So it does kind of have that preterist view, which doesn't really bother me. I'm not particularly a preterist. I'm a historic premillennialist for the most part, but I do believe a large chunk of Revelation did take place in the first century. So now we've got your table of weights and measures. You've got an index of articles in canonical order. So if you want to look up a certain topic, it tells you what page it's on. So that's handy as well. And then your concordance. Now, I'm going to say something extremely controversial here. Please don't beat me up. I think that having a concordance in the Bible at the back is kind of obsolete. You know, we live in an era of eSword and Logos and all of that kind of stuff where you can easily look up a word. You know, I've got Strong's Exhaustive Concordance in my office. The last time I actually opened it up to look something up in it was probably, I'm going to say, maybe a little less than a decade ago. So I think that these big Bibles, you could probably thin it out by at least a dozen pages by just not having a concordance in it. But of course, that's just my little thing here. So this is what the back of the box says. It gives you the little kind of an overview of the features, gives you some page examples. So that is the NIV Cultural Backgrounds Study Bible. So anyway, hope this video is informative, and I hope you have a great day, and God bless.